The chess opening is one of the most important phases in a chess game, and having a solid opening for white and black is essential for chess growth, especially under 1000 ELO. So let's look at two openings that will skyrocket your chess ELO. Okay, so the first opening is going to be the Queen's Gambit. The reason this opening works is because your opponents aren't going to be used to d4, they're going to be studying openings for e4, and also because the Queen Gambit just has very straightforward opening principles to follow. So there's three main variations that you will see, which is the Queen's Gambit declined or the Queen's Gambit accepted. Let's first look at the most common one, which is e6. The Queen's Gambit declined. This is a more traditional variation of the line, but your development or the way your pieces are going to move is very straightforward. You're going to put your knight here. Your bishop pins this knight to the queen, and then this knight goes here. You go e6 to not block your bishop in, and then you wait to put your bishop on d3, because if you place it here now, d takes c, and then it's just a waste of a move. So you play the waiting move, which is here. Now you notice that you can take this. So before you move here, you're either going to wait for them to take this, or you're going to start by taking it. They take back. You go here, and you're just going to have this massive kingside attack, which eventually, after long castling, is just going to be one very straightforward attack where you bring your rooks in, and you just start attacking the king like crazy because all of your pieces are pointing towards the king. Now let's look at the second variation, or the Queen's Gambit accepted. Here you just go e4 and try to win this pawn back, and it's just very normal development. As you see, you're going to put your bishop there, your other knight here. You're going to try and take this pawn. But if your opponent kind of knows what they're doing, they're going to try and protect the pawn, which eventually, after say knight c3, they protect it again, you attack it again. This doesn't work because after takes, you can take back with a knight, and they can't take back because they lose a rook. So that's why the Queen's Gambit accepted isn't necessarily, it's a lot easier to play, and it's kind of worse for black. Now the third variation, this one has a lot of lines, and it's called the Slav. So here, very similar to the Queen's Gambit declined, you're just going to develop your pieces normally. You're going to wait to put your bishop on g5 because the knight isn't there to pin it to the queen. And you're just going to do what you did in the Queen's Gambit declined. Now that you have an opening for white, let's look at an opening for black. We're going to look at the Kaio Con. So here, you're going to go c6, and so it goes e4 and then c6, which is the Kaio Con. You go d4, and then you go d5. Now there's two main variations after this. The third one's a lot more complicated, so we're just going to go through these two, because you're going to see this in over 60% of your games with the Kaio Con. Let's go through the more advanced variation, or the more complicated variation, which is the advanced variation. This is where they go e5. Now here we go c5, and then we go knight c6, applying pressure onto the center. They remove the pressure, and then bishop g. For pinning the knight to the queen, we saw this also in the Queen's Gambit. They go bishop e2 to unpin it, and then you go e6 to attack the knight. Now you also might notice that this pin might get really annoying, but if you just wait, your pawn structure is just going to be a lot stronger. And if you don't react. So you go e6. Now what this does is it attacks the c pawn, which is the pawn you want, this is the square you want your bishop on. And if they go, so they might go e3, bishop e3 to protect it. In this case, your knight is just going to move to e7 to e7 to attack the bishop. So your main idea with this knight is to attack the dark squared bishop. For example, if they go here, you go here, then here. Now if they attack your bishop with something like h3, you just take the knight, and then you win the second pawn. You have an overall better pawn structure. Both knights are ready to be in the game. You're probably going to win this pawn back soon with something like queen a5, and you're overall just better in this position. Now let's look at the second variation that you need to know, which is the exchange variation. This is similar to the Queen's Gambit because you don't have this pawn. Now, standard development, you want to move your bishop to here and then here. So this is basically what your development's going to be. And your bishop on d3, you can start a kingside attack with something like this, and then you're rewriting your knight, and that's like what you want to do with the Kaio Con.